If there was any more proof you needed that the WNBA was not, and I mean not, ready to add new teams to this league, well, these two expansion teams are very, very, very short on talent.
Good grief is right. The WNBA just held its expansion draft for the Portland Fire and Toronto Tempo, and if you needed proof that this league rushed expansion, well, you're looking at it. These rosters are rough. We're talking about teams that make last year's Golden State Valkyries look stacked by comparison. And for Indiana Fever fans watching this unfold, there's one question on everyone's mind. Did we just dodge a bullet, or are we about to waste another offseason?
Not scared to shoot? Oh yeah, we liked Chloe Bibby a lot over here. It seems as though the Portland Fire liked Chloe Bibby a lot too. Chloe Bibby lost in the expansion draft by the Indiana Fever, and fans aren't too happy about it. This is gonna hurt. Yeah, we can never keep the good players who fit in with Caitlin Clark. That goes against what the Fever want to do. Sad to see Chloe go, but very cool opportunity for her, and I'll be...
Let's start with the loss that's got Fever fans in their feelings. Chloe Bibby, the Red Rocket herself, is heading to Portland. And yeah, that stings. She was exactly what Caitlin Clark needed, a three-point specialist who wasn't afraid to let it fly from deep, someone who could space the floor and make defenses pay for overcommitting to Clark. The chemistry was there, the fit was obvious, so why didn't Indiana protect her with a core designation? Here's what most people are missing. Chloe's knees have been a problem. She went from ready to play, to game time decision, to not seeing the court for the rest of the playoffs. That's not just load management, that's a legitimate health concern. When you're deciding whether to use one of your limited core player protections, you have to ask yourself, is this player worth betting on long term? Indiana made their choice, and honestly, from a pure risk assessment standpoint, it makes sense.
There's something going on with her knees. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but she was ready to go, then she's not ready to go. She's game time decision, then she never sees the court the rest of the season. So there's something there. Hopefully she recovers fine, but it makes sense from an injury standpoint, health-wise standpoint. Is Chloe Bibby worth coring? It would have been nice for her not to have been drafted by the Portland Fire, and then maybe the Indiana Fever go bring her in as a developmental player.
But fans aren't thinking about injury risk. They're thinking about what they saw when Chloe was healthy. Instant offense, perfect complementary skill set, genuine team chemistry. The comment section is full of people asking why the Fever keep letting pieces that fit with Caitlin walk out the door. First, it was Temi Fagbinley to Dallas in last year's expansion draft. Now it's Chloe to Portland. There's a pattern forming here, and it's not a good look. The reality is more complicated. Under the new CBA, Indiana could potentially bring Chloe back as a developmental player if Portland doesn't keep her. That's the kind of backdoor move that smart front offices make, but that requires Portland to cut her first, which seems unlikely given how thin their roster is.
But if I'm the Indiana Fever, if I'm an Indiana Fever fan, I am very happy with how this expansion draft went. Bring Sophie Cunningham back. Hit up your connections, hit up your networks. If she needs a little bit less and you got to make some backdoor deals, make the backdoor deals. Start playing with the big dogs like the Aces, the big dogs like the Liberty. Stop thinking so small, Indiana. Kelly Krauskopf. Let's take a look at these teams, shall we? Toronto Tempo. You got Julia Alamon. She's nice. Not a starting point guard to back up, but she's nice. She's nice. She can.
Now let's talk about what Indiana kept, because this is where things get interesting. Sophie Cunningham wasn't selected by either expansion team. Lexi Hull, safe. Aaliyah Boston, safe. Kelsey Mitchell, safe. Caitlin Clark, obviously safe. That's your core five right there, and if you're building around a generational talent like Clark, those are the pieces you absolutely cannot afford to lose. But here's the critical moment for this franchise. We're about a week away from free agency. In a few days, Indiana can start sending qualifying offers to their restricted free agents. This is where Kelly Krauskopf and the front office need to prove they're serious about winning, because keeping those five players together is just step one. Step 2 is surrounding them with the right supporting cast. Step 3 is showing Caitlin Clark that this organization is committed to building a championship contender around her, not just cashing in on her popularity.
Toronto Tempo. You got Julia Alamon. She's nice. Not a starting point guard to back up, but she's nice. She's nice. She can start on a few teams. Not my team. but she could start on a few teams. All right, maybe not just a backup, but okay, she's good enough. Naira Sabali. Marina Mabry didn't get cored by the Toronto Tempo, by the Connecticut Sun. Connecticut's going to Houston next year. Well, Connecticut doesn't give a damn. All right, Marina, go. Yeah, we don't care. Aaliyah Nye, the science guy. Lexi Held, Maria Kond, Maria Klinikova, Aja Kane, Nikolina Milic, Kitcha.
Let's look at what Portland actually got in this draft, because it's honestly shocking. Their first overall pick was Bridget Carleton from Minnesota. Now, Bridget's a solid player, no question, but she's the fourth or fifth option on the Lynx, playing behind Nafisa Collier, Kayla McBride, and Alana Smith. That's your number one pick in an expansion draft, a role player from another team's rotation. Then you've got Carla Leite from Golden State, Emily Engsler, who has potential but is still developing, Haley Jones, who showed flashes in her rookie year but hasn't put it all together yet, Chloe Bibby with the knee concerns, and then the really questionable pick, Nika Mool, who's coming off her second season-ending ACL tear. That's not a sympathy pick, that's a prayer. You're hoping that somehow, against all medical odds, she comes back at full strength and becomes the player she might have been.
This team, all right, Marina's cool, but damn. Now we look at the Portland Fire. Bridget Carleton, the first pick. Bridget Carleton was the first pick in this. Carla Leite. I like Carla Leite from the Golden State Valkyries. I'm surprised the Golden State Valkyries didn't core Carla Leite, to be honest with you. Who can they core? Burton? Thornton? Saloon? Not Carla Leite? That's interesting. Maybe they cored Caitlin Chen. Louisa Gieselsolder, Emily Engsler, Maya Caldwell, Chloe Bibby, Haley Jones, Sarah Ashley Barker, Sugg Sutton, Nika Mule.
Toronto's haul isn't much better. Julie Alamon is their best point guard option, and while she's competent, she's a backup on most playoff teams. Marina Mabry is the biggest name they got, and Connecticut didn't even protect her. Think about that. The Sun are moving to Houston next year, they're in full transition mode, and they still looked at Marina and said, yeah, we're good, you can go. That tells you something about how Connecticut views her value. Naira Sabali from New York, Aaliyah Nye, Lexi Held, Maria Konde. These are rotation players at best. The comment section had it right. Connecticut basically told Marina to pack her bags and don't come back. When a team in transition doesn't protect you, that's not a vote of confidence.
They are significantly lacking. Why is there a faded Lakers logo? Taking Nika, the walking ACL injury, is admirable. Damn, Trent Harvey. You had her do her like that. You had to do Nika Mule like that. Crazy work to take Nika. Her potential isn't that high at this point. She had a tough rookie season followed by 2 season-ending Oh, wow, you're saying it's a participation trophy. Wow, a sympathy draft pick. Damn, you guys are wrong. You guys are wrong. Barker is an amazing pick in college. She was really good. As expected, Mystics protected.
Here's what this expansion draft really reveals about the WNBA's current state. The league added 2 teams before the talent pool was deep enough to support them. Compare this to last year's Golden State Expansion Draft. The Valkyries at least got Veronica Burton and Kayla Thornton, players who could contribute immediately. They had something to build around. Portland and Toronto? They're looking at 20-win seasons if they're lucky. These rosters are going to get absolutely demolished by established teams, and that creates a problem for the league's credibility. You can't market competitive basketball when 2 of your teams are serving as automatic wins for everyone else's schedule.
Bye, Mabry. Now lose your passport once you leave the country and never come back. Connecticut said you ain't worth shit. They didn't even protect Marina. Damn, Marina thought she was about to be a comet. Take your girl with you. We trying to clean house for the H. Damn. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Indiana Fever, now's your time to prove that you guys are legit. Now's your time to prove that you're serious. You bring back those 5 and you go get some other pieces to put around CC.
But let's bring this back to Indiana, because that's what matters for Fever fans. This expansion draft was actually good news for your franchise. You lost 1 player with injury concerns and kept everyone else that matters. Now comes the hard part, capitalizing on that fortunate outcome. Sophie Cunningham needs to be re-signed immediately. Whatever it takes, make it happen. She's a 3-and-D player who fits perfectly with what Indiana wants to do. She can guard multiple positions, she can hit open threes, and she's got the toughness that this roster needs. If you have to make some creative cap moves or backdoor deals to keep her, do it. This is not the time to be cheap. Kelly Krauskopf needs to look at what Las Vegas does, what New York does, and start thinking bigger. Stop operating like a small market franchise that's happy just to make the playoffs. You have Caitlin Clark, you have a player who can sell out arenas and generate millions in revenue. That's your leverage. Use it. The Fever need to add another three-point shooter to replace what Chloe brought. They need a legitimate enforcer, someone with real toughness who can protect their stars when things get physical. They need another versatile defender who can switch across positions. These aren't luxury additions, they're necessities for a team that wants to compete for championships. And here's the uncomfortable truth that Indiana needs to face. You're running out of time. Caitlin Clark is on a rookie contract right now, which means she's underpaid relative to her value. That gives you financial flexibility to build around her. But that window won't last forever. In a few years, she'll be making supermax money, and your cap situation will be much tighter. The time to go all in is now, not later. Look at what happened with other generational talents in women's basketball. Breanna Stewart spent years in Seattle before they finally built a championship roster around her. Diana Taurasi had to wait for the right pieces in Phoenix. You don't want Caitlin looking back in 5 years wondering why Indiana wasted her prime years. This expansion draft also reveals something about the new CBA and how teams are approaching roster construction. The developmental player designation is going to become huge. Smart teams will use it to stash talent and bring back players who might otherwise be lost. Indiana needs to be creative with these new tools. If Chloe gets cut by Portland, bring her back on a developmental deal. If there's a player overseas who fits your system, use that designation to secure their rights. The other thing this draft shows is how important core player designations are. Indiana protected the right players, but they need to be thinking 2 and 3 years ahead. Who are you building around long term? What does this roster look like when Caitlin is in her prime? Those decisions need to be made now, not in the middle of next season when you're scrambling to keep the team together. Portland and Toronto are going to struggle badly next year. That's just reality. But their struggles create opportunities for teams like Indiana. When you're playing these expansion teams 4 times each, those are 8 games you absolutely have to win. Those are the games that separate playoff teams from championship contenders. You can't afford to drop games to rosters this week. And here's the thing about Caitlin Clark that makes this moment so critical. She's not just a great player, she's a cultural phenomenon. She's bringing attention and revenue to the WNBA that the league has never seen before. Indiana has to recognize that they're not just building a basketball team, they're building around the most marketable player in women's basketball history. That comes with responsibility. The fans are watching. They see when you let good players walk. They notice when you make safe decisions instead of bold ones. They're comparing you to what other franchises do for their stars. And right now, the verdict is mixed. You kept the core together, which is good, but keeping them together is the bare minimum. The question is what you do next. Free agency is coming. There will be players available who can help this team immediately. There will be veterans looking for a chance to win a championship with a rising contender. There will be three-point specialists, defensive stoppers, and experienced leaders who can help Caitlin navigate the pressure of being the league's biggest star. Indiana needs to be aggressive in pursuing those players. This isn't the time for caution. This isn't the time to worry about going over the luxury tax or making safe financial decisions. You have a generational talent. You have a roster that's 1 or 2 pieces away from being a legitimate championship contender. You have fan support and revenue that most WNBA teams can only dream about. Use those advantages. So here's the question for Indiana Fever fans. Do you trust this front office to get it done? Do you believe Kelly Krauskopf and her staff understand the urgency of this moment? Because the expansion draft was just the beginning. The real test comes in the next few weeks when free agency opens and teams start making moves. If Indiana comes out of this offseason with the same roster they have now, that's a failure. If they lose Sophie Cunningham or another key piece because they weren't willing to pay, that's a failure. If they don't add at least 2 significant contributors who can help this team compete with New York and Las Vegas, that's a failure. The standard can't be make the playoffs. The standard has to be compete for championships. Anything less is wasting Caitlin Clark's talent and the opportunity she's created for this franchise. Let me know in the comments, what moves do you want to see Indiana make this offseason? Who should they target in free agency? And do you think this front office has what it takes to build a championship roster? Because we're about to find out.